a debate. I might as well just ask this. Is John a real person or is John just Rail? Was John his real brother in
Well,
in real
according
life?
to the story, I mean, I think that if we're looking at it from a metaphysical standpoint of a journey into the soul, like as the story is, Peter Gabriel has said it's about, you think, well, look what he says in the Rapids when he pulls him out of the water. He says, hang on, John, we're out of this at last. But something's changed. That's not your face, it's mine.
Yeah.
So that's him going, I just saved myself. Him coming to the realization that this is me. I've been chasing I'm chasing this apparition of Brother John, quote unquote. And he's there with him in the cage. He's with him when he meets the Slipper Men. It's almost like a split personality kind of thing.
Then what is the psychological significance of John turning away at those particular moments?
Exactly. And that's kind of the question mark. But it's just like, even though he never learns, I hope he showed you some concern.
Exactly.
So that's kind of him going, well, maybe this was a bad decision I made, and this is my other self going, dude, what are you doing?
Yes,
Knock it off.
Like, I'm not going to take part in this because I'm your higher self.
Exactly.
John is like his higher self.
Exactly. That's
He's
what
not
it's
rescuing his higher self. In a way, he's reclaiming his higher self. And like any not only your sibling, but every person we are all one. And
right.
So that is the ultimate message. Is that like, it doesn't matter whether there was a real brother or not. Like it is all one.
Right. And the whole thing with the carpet crawlers, the whole thing about rebirth.
Yes.
We got to get in.
What I'm talking about.
We must have a high tolerance for chaos. Learn to embrace the flow. Forgive all that we can't forget. Regret nothing we can't let go. For despite what we have learned, infinitely more we do not know. So let us tune our frequencies until new vibrations grow. Let's pretend that it never ends. And now, it's time to start the show.
Lights off, it'll be
All right, so Vince Corda.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Opus Marcus podcast.
Thank you again for having me, Marcus.
Thanks for having me here in this fire pit.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you.
So I just scribbled notes today. Like
Okay.
a bunch of things were running through my mind. They're not in any chronological order, but what I can start with is the last time I was here was it a year? Almost a year
Almost
ago?
a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June, right?
Yeah, it was in June.
And you were doing the Wind and Wuthering tour,
Yes.
which at that point you had been doing it a lot, so you were well practiced. It was an amazing show.
Thank you.
We did a podcast. It was fantastic. It took a fuck long of a time to edit.
It was long.
It was crazy.
It was crazy good.
But I got it done. And
yeah.
I remember towards the end of that episode that
Yes.
I mentioned, like, was there any thought of doing the 80s tours?
Yes.
And you sort of like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
So how far back did you guys have this idea of, like, okay, so we've done the Wind and Wuthering stuff, the Seconds Out tour, now we're going to go and do Abacab?
Okay. Yeah, we just figured, you know what, we kind of took the material from 77 and thought, okay, well, we definitely want to try and do something different. We just figured, well, not only that, our keyboard player Matt wanted to kind of shorten his keyboard rig. It would be a lot easier for him.
Right.
And we were kind of like, you know, we really enjoy playing. You know, we really thought, oh, this would sound good live. You know, because you know, like this set list from '81 would be pretty good. And not only that, but we had some requests from fans on the page saying, oh, I'd like to hear Dodo. I'd like to hear Misunderstanding. And we were kind of like, okay, I think we can maybe squeeze that. But the one thing we really wanted is because we love Three Sides Live. You know, like I said, we're all fans of that kind of stuff, and we were like the In the Cage medley. Ooh, yes, that would be a barn burner. And it took us, you know, a good amount of rehearsing to do and a good amount of time learning the material, because our keyboard player, music director, had to, you know, he wrote out all this stuff. He was already light years ahead with it written out. He's like, guys, I've already got the keyboards. He bought the module. Let me go back. He bought the Sequential Circuits Prophet 5 module that Behringer had redid, and he added that to his rig. So now we got the Prophet 5 sounds. He's got the Prophet, 5 and 10, because he's got the two keyboards just like Banks used. He's got the Arp Odyssey doing the Quadra sounds. Oh man! And he's, he just went all out, and we were like, all right, so let's get started. So we did, No Reply at All, Misunderstanding. Jeff went out and brought the new Roland TR drum machine that has all the CR 80 rhythms in it. And we got Duchess and Man on the Corner. And I remember when he came in with that and hit the button, and I went, I just couldn't talk. I was like, oh my God.
Now, speaking of Jeff, there was no problem for him just because of his voice. And he already nails Phil. So was there any issues for him singing that stuff?
Not really, no. I thought, ooh, Man on the Corner, that's going to be a little tough, because Phil's really up there. He's really pulling out the emotion on that song. And he, in Jeff's infinite way, just as a front man, just does it. And like, I got goosebumps when we first rehearsed Man on the Corner. When Matt came in with that keyboard and the drum machine was on, like, I literally got goosebumps up and down and went, oh my God. Yeah. We are gonna just have this. And like I said, and not to get too much further into it, but when we first debuted the 81 set list on Scottish Rite in Collingswood, when we did Man on the Corner, me and Steve and our bass player walked off stage and, had them, like they did on the original tour, where it was just Phil and Tony on stage.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, the whole crowd sang every single word to Man on the Corner.
Wow.
We were like, wow. Oh man. Because we kind of were expecting the audience to go, oh man on the Corner.
Time to go to the bathroom.
Time to go. Exactly. I don't want to hear Misunderstanding. You know what I mean, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
What I'm talking about.
it's just sounded great, and I think we've gotten, not that we didn't before, I think the response has gotten a lot bigger because we've been doing a lot of more recognizable Genesis tunes.
Sure.
You know, a lot of the people are like, oh, well, I didn't hear, I wouldn't expect the band to be doing what you guys are doing, like you said, doing No Reply at All with the drum machine intro, and a lot of people are like, oh, I remember that from that tour. Yeah,
exactly.
Because we're bringing back, like I said again, like in the other podcast, we're bringing back a lot of memories from the people. Go, oh, I remember that. Yeah, I forgot they did this song, or it was in this order. You know what I mean? So
those people make me laugh because like that material is so embedded in my brain.
Right.
Like, it's just funny that that's nostalgic for them, but I get it.
No.
Yeah.
And it's just
So how long have you? Because this is I'm excited because this will be the first time I'm finally getting to see you guys play this. But how long have you been doing this the Abacab tour now?
Feels like a long time. It's been about it. I think it has been about a year now because we because I know we like I said, we did the Scottish Rite and we did the Keswick, and it took us a while to rehearse it. It also took a lineup change too because our one guy Andre is no longer with us anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was it wasn't No Hard Feelings. It wasn't the usual, the band like being like, oh, I don't like this guy. Personal differences.
Yeah.
It was just, he was kind of holding us. He was really busy with his work. Like I told you in the previous podcast, he's traveling all over the world and barely having time at home and.
He
and
was
things like
what?
That.
Was he? What member was he? What
he was Rutherford.
That's right. I was going to say bass. Okay.
Yeah, and it was just we were kind of feeling like he was holding us back because we wanted to rehearse, we wanted to play a lot more shows, and a lot of times he's like, oh, I'm going to be in Germany here, or I'm going to be in England, and in this day, and we were like, we kind of have to get the ball rolling, you know what I mean, man? And it was, it wasn't any, like I said, it was no animosity whatsoever. And the guys, we all got together and we went out one night and they were like, listen, Vin, we have to let Andre go. And I kind of thought, oh no, because as you know, we can't just replace anybody like that.
Sure.
In a band like this, playing this material.
Not how good you guys are. You guys are dead on, so.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so what happened was Matt, our music director, in his infinite wisdom was like, listen, I know a guy, he lives in Lancaster. He's a beast on the bass. He's a big Zappa fan. I went, oh, okay. We talked about Zappa. That's all I needed to hear. And he was actually the bass player in his name is Mike Bitts. He was a bass player in an original band that toured nationally. I don't remember their name at the moment, but he's also in a Rush tribute band called Solar Federation.
Okay.
And he's the Geddy Lee of the group. But he doesn't sing, but he plays the bass and bass pedals. And so that was already good. He played bass and bass pedals. So.
All right.
And he's also a Genesis fan, and Matt basically sent him the material, and in 2 rehearsals, this guy almost pretty much nailed it.
That's what you need.
And I was in complete shock. I went, oh my God,
wow,
this guy nailed it that quickly?
Yeah.
Holy shit. And because at first, like I said, I was apprehensive going, oh, bringing another guy in. Oh man, is he going to get this? He just came in with his iPad with the music on it, because and we gave Andre some money. He gave us the double neck. He gave us his Taurus pedals and the pedals because he's like, look, I'm not going to use them, guys.
That's
absolutely,
That's
feel
really
free.
Nice, yeah.
I mean, we had to pay, but
but still, yeah.
But still, I mean, like he had got the bass pedals and Firth of Fifth he nailed, and then all of a sudden he's getting the bass. Behind the lines when he has the Geddy Lee signature Fender jazz bass because he's, like I say, he's a big Geddy Lee guy. And when we first started rehearsing behind the lines, I'm playing because, like I said, me and Jeff already know the drum parts, and he came in and nailed the bass line, and I'm like, my jaw hit the floor, and I went, oh, we got the guy now. We got the guy now.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he just came in, looked at the music, and just practiced it a couple times as to my recollection, and just blew me away, and blew all of us away. And we were like, here we go. We're off to the races.
Right.
And then as we kept rehearsing, he's playing the guitar parts for Duchess, and he's got the bass pedals, and like,
so you lost Andre while in the middle of doing the Abacab?
kind of when we were starting it. And
Okay.
also, I mean, I know Andre was a little apprehensive with it too, because he was kind of like, it's not my favorite era Genesis, but if you guys want to do it, I'm fully cooperative. Absolutely, I'll do it. And he was doing it, but like I said, guys, I can't rehearse here. I'm doing this. I can't play this gig. I can't do these months. And we're like, dude, we want to play, man.
Yeah.
We want to play at least twice a month. We want to get out and venture. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you another question from before I forget. The the In the Cage medley.
Yes, sir.
Was that the first time that they had played that? Was it the Abacab tour? They didn't play the In the Cage medley on the Duke tour, did they?
They played it In the Cage medley. They played a small one on the Duke tour.
Okay, yeah, but it wasn't the...
It wasn't the full... They didn't have the cinema show in between. They went from In the Cage into Slippermen.
Right, yeah.
And they did start In the Cage on the 78 tour.
I remember that,
But
yeah.
they ended, how they do the... But they kind of ended it like a cliffhanger, and you were kind of like, oh, okay. All right, sure. Sure, guys, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Tony always wrote those little tag endings, and it's crazy because I remember we were learning the material, and they do You'll Hear Tomorrow Night. They end the Lamb very weird, like they go back into the Rail Imperial Aerosol Kid, and it kind of ends with this chord, and we were like, that's it? That's how you're ending this?
Yeah.
Whatever, fine. So we had to learn it,
I was listening to a bootleg from that tour, a really good one, just like on the way down, and the Lamb goes into Dodo. Is that how
doesn't go into Dodo? Maybe, you know what?
Or is Dodo the next song after?
Dodo's the next song.
Is the next song. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I'm just mentioning Dodo because I have to just that's the one I am personally the most excited to hear live. That's just one of my favorite tracks.
Oh, just you wait.
So now that we're on Dodo, we'll just cover this and then I'll move back. But
sure.
The Dodo Riddle, the Riddle of Lurker. Clothes of brass, hair of brown, seldom need to breathe, no need no wings to fly,
heart of stone,
and
fear of fire and water. Who am I?
Exactly. So, have you heard the lore around that? The possible answers to that?
Submarine.
Yeah, Submarine. Okay, good. We went right there. Yes.
One of what I just think is an amazingly beautiful song, and I don't know why they put that on
Submarine.
The song Submarine.
So let's explain to the listeners. I mean, the listeners are probably just Genesis fans who already know this, but they had a suite planned for the album Abacab, which was Naminanu, Dodo, Lurker, and Submarine, right? Am I missing one? No, that's it.
No, I think that's it.
But they cut Naminanu and Submarine.
Yes.
And Submarine's this melodramatic instrumental.
Really, yeah.
So the riddle of Dodo Lurker, it ends at the end of the song with this riddle, and there's, I guess in an interview once he just said there was no answer to it. But it makes perfect sense that it's describing a submarine, and the song that was originally intended to follow in the suite was Submarine.
Yeah.
I've also heard that it's could refer to Phil.
Oh, really?
Clothes of brass, right? Because he's hitting the cymbals. Hair of brown, seldom need to breathe. So I don't know where I read that. I heard that. Okay.
Mind blowing.
So Dodo, I can't wait till you guys play that.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. I love playing it. It's so much fun.
And before we get back to you guys,
Yes.
let's just talk about Genesis, the band, and where they were at that point in time.
Okay.
I thought of this because it was October 2nd, and so I was listening to the 1982 reunion at Nebworth with Peter Gabriel.
Oh, the Six of the Best.
The Six of the Best,
Yes.
reunion, right? Sometimes they call it Gabba Gabriel.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I like that.
Yeah, well,
Very
so
cool.
that's what's interesting is, okay, so there was the 81 tour Abacab, and Genesis had made this like conscious decision to change the style of their music.
Yeah.
And then around 82, they end up bailing out Gabriel and reuniting with him, and that was, of course, the last time that they were ever together.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what else can you add from that time in the band's history that's relevant or important?
That's a great question. I can add into the fact that Rutherford said they were working more as a group at this point. Like, this is the point where they were just, let's just go into the farm, let's jam out, see what we come up with. And yeah, obviously Abacab, Man on the Corner, I think Like It or Not was a tune Rutherford brought in.
That's Rutherford, yeah.
Keep It Dark was I believe a Banks and Collins tune, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And like I said, they were more just like, let's just go in the studio and hey, Tony, you got an idea? Cool. Phil, you got an idea? You got some lyrics left over from your solo albums? Sure, let's do it. Because at that point, Phil's solo career was just skyrocketing to the heavens,
He gets a little more clout now in the band, I think.
Yeah, and I think the other two were like, oh, he can write a song. Okay.
Right.
Let's see what we can pull out of him on Abacab, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, and I know he was going through, I think he might have gone through a little bit of marital trouble at that point.
Well, 79 was the marital trouble.
That was
and
when,
then by
yeah.
80, that's what I love about Duke is that sort of coming out of the darkness album, right? Like where he
Guide
just
vocal.
guide vocal and all that shit,
Ugh.
and then he goes solo. You're right. So they come back in and they're like, "Fuck it, we can just fuck around now."
Right,
We're
exactly.
all good. Yeah. All right.
We're not letting egos get into the way, Phil. And that's the one thing I loved about Genesis is I know Rutherford had his solo stuff and Banks had theirs, but I like the fact that none of their egos came into play.
Sure.
They were not like, oh, I'm Tony Banks, I'm Phil Collins, I'm writing this song, this is mine. I'm not doing that.
Even though Phil Collins probably has the biggest ego of them all,
In some aspects,
In some aspects, right.
Yeah.
But no, they're all equals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I feel at this era, it really felt like they were like more songwriters, and they were going, okay, well, let's take this idea and let's take some lyrics and let's make a weird album. And I know that, and it's very sad, Phil kind of dismisses Abacab these days as, that was a really weird album, I don't really like it, I don't really like performing those songs because they were just very strange. Okay, well, you helped write a lot of those songs, Phil,
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I've always thought that's, out of all their 80s albums, that's the one I've kind of gravitated to a lot. I love Duke, don't get me wrong, but Abacab for me just had some wonderful, me and Sarah Jane.
Well, yeah, we definitely have to go there because we talked about it last time about how it's the song that it doesn't stay the same from the beginning to end.
There's no chorus, there's not really a verse.
No.
We'll be doing that tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I cannot wait. I am so excited.
Sarah Jane, silence walks along the shore. Tears and joy and mocking laughter, words lost in the wind. Oh, the tide was rising, every state we had no fear of dying. We weren't afraid. Oh, no, no, no.
Because this is the first time I get to hear these songs live. Like I came into it, 8th grade was We Can't Dance for God's sakes.
Oh, well,
so
yeah,
anything on that tour I got to hear, but this stuff, this is all going to be new live.
Yeah.
What let's get into the challenging songs, your favorite songs to play, the band's favorite songs to play. What's the highlights for you?
I think the highlights for all of us, and I think I can speak for all the other guys, is what I aforementioned, the In the Cage medley.
Oh, right, yeah.
That is our favorite one to play because it's just the way they took that Lamb song and just turned it into a funky hard rockin' tune, and it's so fun for us to play. And just, for me, it's very because Chester's just playing this. He's playing Immigrant Song by Zeppelin at like 30 beats faster than the original. It's boom, and it's just, for me, I'm just like, oh man, and we're grooving and we're just getting the, and just the whole band as a whole, and just hearing Matt just nailing the solo to In the Cage just lights me up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah,
man.
that song gives me goosebumps every time. Yeah.
And every time we play it, and then we go into the cinema show and then the Slipperman, and then the big Afterglow ending is just the orgasm, of just the, we just played this huge monster of a medley of our monstrous tunes, and now we're giving you Afterglow, and it's,
I mean, I think I love you guys. This is funny, but I love you guys just for the fact that was the first time I ever got to hear Afterglow live.
Okay.
It was the first time I saw you guys play at Landis Theater. I'm just like, oh my God, this song is they're actually playing this song. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So now, but in November, if I'm right, you're going to be at what is it called, the Scottish Rite?
We're going to be at the Scottish Rite on Saturday the 16th in Collingswood, New Jersey, and then the following Saturday we're playing our first gig in Buffalo, New York.
Wow, all the way up there, that's crazy.
Yep.
I wish you guys would just stop on the North Jersey.
Stop on the way up, right? We're going to stop at Marcus's house.
Yeah.
Real quick, just a real quick rehearsal. But yeah, we're really excited about this gig because we have some Canadian brothers coming down. We've got some, like I said, we've got fans, all over the world, asking, hey, come out to LA, come out to England, come out to Chicago or Ohio, all kinds of places. And we have some fans coming, because like I said, it's right across the river there. We got guys coming down from I believe Toronto or that area, and they're just like so. We have this one guy, Joe Grillo, who's probably our biggest fan up from that area, and he's sending us seating charts. Like, look at what you're selling. You guys are almost selling it out.
Yeah.
He's just, every time we post, he's like, can't wait to see you the 23rd. Can't wait. Well, you guys are going, because we found out that the Musical Box was really big up there, and there's a big Genesis following up there. And obviously now it's definitely a big following because it's a big seller for us. And
because who else in this area is doing this era? I mean, you guys started doing the Seconds Out, and then suddenly it seemed everybody was doing that era. Where I hadn't really seen that before, except maybe like in other parts of the world. Yeah. So is there anybody else in this area that's doing that? Like, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because there's a band up by us. There's a couple bands. One is called Prognosis, right? The guys.
I've heard of them. Yes.
They're all right. They're all right. Yeah. He puts on the costumes, but it's just nailing the voice is always very difficult.
Exactly.
But he only does Gabriel era songs. And then there's a band called Rail that I've never seen. Yeah. They play in New York City, and the reason why I won't go see them is just the voice. Like, I've watched YouTube videos, I'm like, I can't sit through 2 hours of this.
Yeah. It's very,
I'm like hating on other cover bands.
Right.
I'm very, very picky when it comes to Genesis songs, especially when it comes to the voice.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that you're going to always get backlash from people. A buddy of mine, Russ Vitale, who will be there tomorrow night, and he's a guy that's not really into tributes and stuff like that, but he's one of my great friends, and he's seen us before, and he was just like, dude, I gotta tell you guys something. He's like, you're a singer, man. I gotta tell you.
Exactly.
He's like, the one thing I like about him is that he's not trying to sound like Phil, and he's not trying to sound like Peter. His voice is like a in between some way, somehow. It's in between both of their voices.
Right, and I said something similar last time. Like, it's so true.
Yeah, and that's what gravitated me with this group, because, like I said, I believe last time we talked, I was like, oh, I hope this guy's got the good voice. And when Jeff started singing, I was like, whoa, this guy's got a voice on him. Because I knew he was in a cover band. He was in, like I said, he's
in high school,
in high school and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he I was like, wow, this guy's got an incredible voice, and he's not trying to sound like Peter, and he's, again, not trying to sound like Phil.
Had you heard him when he was in 1111?
Yes, I have.
You have, okay. Yeah.
I heard the band, and I knew of him before the group, but when I first met him, like I said, I was like, oh man, this guy's gonna be our singer, okay, you know, because like I said, when I came in, I was kind of like, this guy better have a good voice, man. This guy better be good, you know. And then he started singing, and I was a singer.
He has the voice of somebody. Like when I was listening to him, I'm like, here is somebody. I mean, I don't have a good singing voice, but I know those albums note for note. If I'm alone, I can nail it note for note, and that's what he sounds like. He sounds like somebody who's listened to it so many times. Yes. He has it completely down in his head. Mm-hmm. Like the timing of every accent.
Exactly.
Or stress on a syllable, you know.
Right. And he brings his, and just the fact that he's been doing it for, oh God, I'd say almost maybe 2 decades now. He's been doing it, because in 1111, and he's also done solo acoustic gigs, like I said, and just the way he works the crowd, and just the way he makes them laugh, and just you know, he's just such a great guy. And our guitar player Steve, who used to play in 1111 with him, he would be like, man, we would have guys that were just, you know, bothering stuff about, but Jeff would turn around and be his best friend and just be like, yo. Just he would just be so warm to everybody, and just be the nicest guy, and
he exudes that on stage.
Exactly.
He really does. But that's what I like too, is that he does his own little side things in between, right? He talks to the audience like, we're here, we are a cover band. He's not pretending, he's not like parroting Phil,
right?
You know, he's not saying the exact lines, and that's actually better. In a lot of ways. You know, like the wall is broken. I don't have to pretend that they're, you know, they sound real, but they don't have to look or act
exactly.
Like the band.
And that's the one thing. Yeah, and that's the one thing we like doing, man. We don't want to, you know, we're not the musical box. You know, we're not going to put, you know, Jeff joked around the other day. He's like, hey guys, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to come out on stage with no shirt on and a sweatpants and a tambourine in my pants.
Giving the finger to everybody.
Giving the finger to everybody in the crowd because the tambourine's
Wasn't there also like a cardboard cutout of some like big-breasted woman or something?
Yeah,
like
I think that was the Duke tour.
That was the Duke tour. No, you're right.
The
Hawaiian shirt Duke tour, yes.
The Hawaiian shirt and all that stuff. And he sent a picture of him, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to dress like this. I hope you don't mind. We're like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Oh, no, so on November 16th, when you do that, though, it's billed as the 82.
We're doing the Encore tour, yes.
Right. Now, have you done the Encore tour before?
No.
Interesting. That's why I want to go. That's why I want to go see you guys there. What is the difference between the 81 and the 82? And it was, you know, some songs have changed and were removed.
Yeah.
And why are you doing that? Like, what was the decision for that?
Well, the decision for the Encore tour is we figured, well, you know, there was a good amount of those songs that we've played previously with Seconds Out.
Right.
Like on this tour, like on the 82 Encore tour, they opened up with Dance on a Volcano.
That's right. Okay.
And they did Supper's Ready as well.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much, guys. We're gonna play a song. The last time we came around, we did the 77 Seconds Out tour, and we're gonna go back and play a song they did on that tour, on that album. So that meant one less song we had to learn for this tour. Bonus, bonus for us.
There was a guy at the gas station today. I can't remember where I was. This gas station.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like Rail, like
He looked like Omar.
Yeah, Omar. And guess what? His name tag, Omar.
Synchronicity.
And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Yes. And he was, you know, he had the dark skin and the hair. I'm like, oh my God.
Dude.
His name was Omar. And see, that's what's funny is I couldn't wait to tell you because I knew that you would know that Omar was
the actor who played Rail on the album cover. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Oh my God.
We gotta find that guy. Whatever happened to him?
I don't know.
I want to know his entire story.
I know. I want to know if he's still alive.
Yeah. Did he have a brother?
You have a brother named John?
Right.
You know?
Oh, what do you think? But this is like a debate. I might as well just ask this. Is John a real person, or is John just rail? Was John his real brother in
Well,
in real
according
life?
to the story, I mean, I think that if we're looking at it from a metaphysical standpoint of a journey into the soul, like as the story is, Peter Gabriel has said it's about, the Pilgrim's Progress.
Yes.
I think that, well, look what he says in the Rapids when he pulls him out of the water. He says, "Hang on, John, we're out of this at last. But something's changed. That's not your face, it's mine."
Yeah.
So that's him going, "I just saved myself." Him coming to the realization that this is me. I've been chasing I'm chasing this apparition of Brother John, quote unquote. And he's there with him in the cage. He's with him when he meets the Slipper Men. It's almost like a split personality kind of thing. You know what I mean?
But then,
It's like,
so then what is the...
like
the
Tyler Durden in Fight Club. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So then what is the psychological significance of John turning away at those particular moments?
I see, exactly. And that's kind of the question mark. But it's just like, even though he never learns, I hope he showed you some concern.
Exactly.
So that's kind of him going, well, maybe this was a bad decision I made, and this is my other self going, dude, what are you doing?
Yes,
Knock it
it's
off.
like, I'm not going to take part in this because I'm your higher self.
Exactly.
John is like his higher self.
Exactly. That's
So
he's
he's
what
not
it's
rescuing his higher self. In a way, he's reclaiming his higher self. And like any not only your sibling, but every person we are all one, and
Right.
so that is the ultimate message. Is that like, it doesn't matter whether there was a real brother or not. Like it is all one.
Right. And the whole thing with the carpet crawlers, the whole thing about rebirth.
Yes.
We got to get in.
Yes,
to
I've
get
heard
out.
some ridiculous interpretations of that, and I think it's
me
kind
too,
of obvious.
Yeah.
what that
I mean, you
song's
look at the
about.
lyrics. I mean, the one line that, like we said in the last podcast, the
Yes.
liquid has congealed, which has seeped out through the cracks, and
Yes.
the tickler takes his stickle back.
Right,
It's
and
like,
I
whoa,
I certainly
okay.
enjoy myself a good harvest feast now and again.
Oh yeah, hey, lit by candlelight. But here's the thing: everyone said the bottom of the staircase that spirals out of sight. Now, is that DNA?
Uh-huh.
Is that your spiral? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The spiral staircase that goes to the chamber of 32 doors, which is the
Yeah,
what
is
was
the
that? The
32
Kabbalah,
again?
right?
Yeah,
Isn't it like the tree of life?
But
There's
I'm trying to
32.
think- I know there's 10 main in the Tree of Life, but I don't
Right.
know where the 32 comes from. But you're right, it is connected to the Kabbalah.
It is connected to the Kabbalah,
Yeah.
the 32 chambers, the 32 selves, because the rich man stands in front of me, the poor man, my mother to the left, my father to the left of me, my mother to the right. It's just like everyone's trying to find their pathway, and it's almost like, are these people in his head, or are these the other parts of his personality? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'd rather trust a country man than a town man. It's like, well, you're the town man, really. You're from New York City. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
no, sure.
It's just, I mean, and that's the great thing I love about the Lamb, is that we're never going to decipher what it's actually about. You know?
Yeah, I think
There's-
we've done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we've put our own interpretations, but Peter, I would just want to pick his brain and go, what the hell were you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Because you'd even know the band's just like, dude, what are you talking about?
Right.
I mean, even with Lamia, Tony's like, I had such a beautiful piano riff, and he's singing about snakes, and I'm going, what?
Oh, do you know where Lamia came from?
He had a wet dream.
Yes, exactly.
He had a wet dream. He was reading about Greek mythology, and he was reading about the Lamia, and he had a wet dream
You're
about the Lamia.
Yeah, you got to make a song out of
And
it.
you got to make a song out of a wet dream about Lamia.
Song about my first wet dream. Check.
Exactly. There you go, Pete.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, the Lamb. I mean, I could talk about the Lamb for hours.
We could do a whole.
and hours.
We'll be out here till the dawn.
Yeah, but okay. So, but we're actually supposed to be covering the Abacab.
81, 82.
81,
Yeah.
82.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so
What's the difference between
81 and 82? Well, the difference is obviously the song selection, and like I said, the fact that the set list is a little juxtaposed. I know Who Dunnit was taken out, and we will be doing Who Dunnit tomorrow night.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
Even though we're kind of like, we were all kind of like, this song's, you know what I mean? I love Who Dunnit.
Is it going over well?
It's actually going over well. We haven't had people going, oh, what the hell?
Right. Well, you should know to expect it, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
because it's part of the set list.
I like Who Dunnit as an instrumental. It's just the lyrics.
the
are
lyrics,
that
but
kills it.
go into 82, like I said, again, reiterating, we're doing Supper's Ready, because it was the last time they actually played it in full.
That is true.
In 82.
Uh-huh.
Because, like I said, well, they brought back Apocalypse in 98 and the ending on the medley on the Invisible Touch tour in 86, 87.
Yes.
But, so essentially, like I said, and we're doing there's another weird medley of the Lamb going into Watcher of the Skies, which is very strange transition. And, we had to learn that. And it's, like I said, it's difficult for us because there's no professional recordings of it. So we had to go to the bootlegs, and we went to the one where they did a surprise club gig at the Marquee in 82.
Yes.
That's where we're getting our music from, and that's where we're kind of learning, so when we do and Chester plays some things a little differently, and I'm listening to that on and off. He kind of keeps it consistent, but, like I said, there's that, and there's, what else? I'm trying to think, but there's not really too much difference to 81 and 82, except there's some, like I said, there's other stuff that, they play, like I said, they switched up a lot. They opened with Dance on a Volcano.
Yeah.
That's weird for an opener. I'm not weird, but in 82, because in 76 they opened.
Sure.
But, but like I said, this particular one, there's some strange mixing in the set list, like I said, Firth of Fifth and all that stuff, so, yeah.
So, maybe it's too soon, but what's next? Like, once you play the 82 show, what's the plan from there?
Right now, it's kind of a question mark, Marcus, because just about a month ago, I think, we decided to do a poll, Facebook poll, this one or that album, these things.
Yeah.
So Steve, our guitarist, put up a poll. What would you like us to do next? Would you like us to do the 76 Trick of the Tail tour, or would you like to hear the Duke tour?
Oh, I know. I remember this because I remember when you were talking about it, and I was like, "What did I choose? What did I choose?" And it's obvious for me is the Duke tour.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing: it's neck and neck.
Really?
It is literally neck and neck. It is right now 51% Trick of the Tail, 49% Duke.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
That's amazing.
And I'm kind of looking at, and I did the infinite thing of, being the zombie that I am with my phone, as a lot of people are, and I'm, doing my best to try and be like, okay. But, looking at the, because I get blown up because I'm one of the team members of the Facebook page, so I get a lot of the alerts. And I'm looking at it, and one day at work I was scrolling, and I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing a lot more Duke comments than I am Trick of the Tail. And I'm thinking, did they vote Trick of the Tail? Or are these just people commenting and not voting? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking, my personal, like I said, I can't speak for the other guys, but I think Duke would be the best idea because next year in 2020, it's going to be the 40th anniversary of the Duke tour.
And for promotional purposes, that's
right.
That's
that would
right
be the
on.
obvious choice.
Yes.
And I know our keyboard player, Matt, was a little frustrated because he's just kind of like, well, now I got to bring out the pro soloist and I got to do all this stuff now, you know.
Yeah.
And I know he kind of wants to lay off the pro soloist. I mean, because it's like I said, it's enough for his rig. He's got to bring out almost a completely different rig, and I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass for him for that. And I know, being with the pro soloist, it's kind of like pins and needles because if that thing goes, we're fucked.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're not the musical box where we have another pro soloist sitting in the wings where we can just plug it in. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Because and Matt, God bless him. God bless Matt. He has spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on his keyboard rig, getting all kinds of keyboards and getting the exact sounds.
He is amazing.
He's just incredible,
Yeah.
and when he gets his pro soloist fixed, I mean, the last time he got it fixed, he had to send it out to California to this keyboard guy. Like I said, I don't know much information. All I know is that he's the only guy who could fix the pro. To my knowledge, he's one of the only guys who can really fix the pro soloist, because that thing is completely obsolete.
Yeah.
And with him having the ARP Odyssey, it's great, but he can't do with the ARP Odyssey what he can do with the pro soloist.
Sure.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
he can get the emulation sounds for it, but he can't get the touch sensitivity with the keys, because that's with the ARP Pro Soloist, how Tony was doing those bends, he was pressing down on the keys and bending the pitches with it.
Okay.
When you got the emulation, you can't really do that.
Right.
I mean, you could, but you'd have to do it manually with the computer.
I see.
And that's really tough. And he was kind of, I know he's kind of like, oh, now everyone wants to drink at the tail, and I got to learn White Mountain, and we got to do, you know, and that song is a pain in the butt. And not only that, but like all the stuff that Bruford had. I mean, I have a keyboard that has a lot of the samples of the percussion equipment he had, but I'd have to learn a whole completely different style of playing as well, because Bruford had his own style of playing with Genesis, and he caused a lot of frustration within the group because I have his biography and I read it. And he was very like, well, he was hot off the death of King Crimson at the time.
Yeah.
You know, he had all the percussion and all this free-form thinking that Fripp put in his head. And he's trying to rehearse with the band, and the band's like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. This is how the song goes. And he was kind of like, fuck you, I'm Bill Bruford. I'm playing however I want. You know what I mean?
You could just see Tony seething internally.
Oh, yeah. And Bill Bruford wrote in a book, he's like, yeah, I really pissed them off because they were so nice to me, and I was just completely being a huge asshole to them, and they were nothing but nice to me. And he's like, I knew Banks was very like, you know, like playing all his off-time fills over Apocalypse and 9/8, and just completely doing his, like, you know, every night, because they were so used to Phil playing kind of the same style every single night. But then, you know, this guy comes in and he's going completely bonkers, and they're like, whoa, slow down, Sparky.
Right.
Whoa down. You know, every night he's playing wood blocks and hitting a gong and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. Phil's loving it, and the other guys are like, here we go.
That's
What's
one of the
Bruford gonna do tonight?
That's one of the beautiful things about Genesis is they make it sound so improvisational, but they rehearse that shit to death.
Yeah.
And everybody was held to an extremely high standard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say just do the Duke tour, just because it's so underrated, right? There's no official video, but there's that
the Lyceum.
The Lyceum video, which is fantastic, and it's such a, you know, it's a crossover between the old and the new. What you said earlier about how you gravitate toward Abacab as far as the 80s stuff is concerned, like I agree with you. Duke before it, although I love the album and the concept, and it's in a way it's I think even Tony had in mind at some point, like it being a concept album.
Yeah.
With the whole Albert story.
Right.
You know, I like that, but I don't listen to it, and I don't listen to all the songs off of it as frequently as I would some songs off of Abacab if I was into that era. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know. I mean, I like Duke is great, but you know, a lot of those songs like Cul-de-sac and Alone Tonight, they never really spoke to me, and I never really like got into those. I'm sure if I heard them now, I would go, wow, those are great
Cul-de-sac
songs.
is fan. I love Cul-de-sac.
I'd have to get back into that.
And I would love to hear Duke's Travels played live. You know?
Oh yeah,
I mean, even with the band, you know, they didn't give Duke as much credit because they wouldn't play many songs off of Duke. They played Misunderstanding, but they didn't play Duke's Travels again until what, 2007?
Yeah, when they brought it into the medley.
Yeah.
They added that to the In the Cage medley. But the thing for us is just, I mean, it would be easier to do 76 because we played most of those songs already.
True. Yeah, that's true.
We've already done, I mean, the only song we'd really have to learn, like I said, is White Mountain. Right. All the other songs we know how to do. You know, we've played them before.
Was there anything else from 76 that didn't make it to 77? Because originally you guys played a mix of... Entangled, yeah, but you guys did a mix of that stuff, right? Like you played Entangled, you played the Lily White Lilith Wakarilla medley.
Right, which was only played once,
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Which is great.
To hear that, okay.
But the thing with us is that I know that if and when we touch on the Duke stuff, we'd have to learn some, and then there were 3 material, you know, Deep in the Mother Lode, The Lady Lies, Say It's All Right, Joe.
Sure. I've never been a fan of... Go ahead.
For me, they're fantastic songs. I love those songs.
Really?
Say
It's All Right, Joe is so hard for me to listen to.
Yeah, I know, because it's a little like, you know... Yeah, I know, it's a little kind of like, okay...
Well, since we're bouncing around the 78 album in general, it took me until my probably mid-30s to really, truly appreciate that album.
Okay.
And I mean, I didn't appreciate it until I started doing like my remixes of the Genesis material.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I get to this album, I'm like, I don't really like it that much. But as I listened to it, there's so many good little bits on that 78 album.
Yeah.
Which is special. It's the year I was born, and I feel like I should like this album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different because it's, like you said, after 80 and on, it's just the improvisation, let's see what we come up with. Whereas 78 was the last of the, I've written a song, and now you guys are going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like they came in as like they all had different songs for 78.
Right.
And then there were 3.
And then with the and a lot of good stuff on that, like I love Undertow is a great song.
See, that's another. Yeah, Undertow is probably the best song on the album.
It's just
Or
it's got
Follow
the
You, Follow Me.
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the emotion.
Right.
And for me, my favorite is The Lady Lies. That's such a barn burner.
Another
That
one
ending.
that took me an extremely long time to appreciate.
because it's got that kind of quirky story, you know what I mean? But
at the end,
that
the jam
ending,
at the end
that
is
jam
so
at the end is just
fantastic. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, I
Exactly.
didn't know this was here.
right.
You
It's
know?
almost like you discovered something new, and it's like, no, this was like 40 years ago.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's almost like you're deciphering a hieroglyphic, and you're like, Eureka! That's what it is.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about.
and that's why I'm more keen to do Duke, and like I said, Matt is our keyboard player is more keen to do Duke because he's got like I said, we just got to learn those songs, and I think once and I know we'll nail them fairly quickly because we've already done one for the Vine. We've already done, we'd have to also learn Duke's Travels and Duke's End, which I'm gonna look forward to play because from a drumming perspective, and I know it's gonna be tough for Jeff, but I think he'll nail it. I don't have any problem with him because when we fool around in practice, he likes to fool around with some parts of the drum beat, and he's just like, oh man, that's a tough one to play. It's very tough. And
so what is it that? Let's go back to that. What's tough for you to play?
What's tough for me to play now currently?
Yeah, like on this.
I have to be honest with you. Well, In the Cage obviously is very tough for me. That once it gets past the Brother John bit, with Chester playing that barn burner of a drum beat over and over again, and my right foot feels like it's gonna fall off.
Okay, yeah.
But I just got a new drum kit, and that'll debut tomorrow. I got a new kit. It came with pedals and everything.
That's right. I saw the post about that.
Oh yeah,
you're
good.
selling the old one, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And but yeah, that's tough. And believe it or not, no reply at all, because I'm playing along with the drum machine.
Okay.
And it's tough playing along with the drum machine. Yeah, because it's and plus like the ending with the anybody listening, and there's different snare bits he plays along with Daryl because they're kind of replicating the horn licks on the guitar.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, so they had horns, I guess, for some of the shows when they brought the Phoenix.
There was a few shows where they brought out the Phoenix horns.
Horns. Yeah.
Obviously, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
But because it was Chester and Daryl going along with those hits, and me and Steve got to make sure we get the right hits because it changes every time, and it's tough for me because I'm trying to go along with it, and like I said, I'm playing along with the drum machine, and if you watch Three Sides Live, Chester's got his head turned right towards the monitor because I'm sure he's trying to stay on beat as tough as possible. I remember telling the guys in the band that they were like, yeah, we watched it. Yeah, we're watching it. And he's like this, trying, because this is, like I said, this is pre-in-ears.
Yeah.
And I'm using in-ears, like me and Matt are using in-ears. And I've used them before, and now I've got professional grade. Our Rutherford guy, Mike, had a spare pair of in-ears. Yeah, use them. And I'm, because at the shows before I used the in-ears, I was doing the same thing Chester was doing. I'm like having my head cocked towards the monitors, making sure I'm on time with the drum machine.
Right.
And it's very tough to play along with because, like, if I'm in the groove and playing along, if I lose it, I'm off beat and the whole thing's gonna be thrown off. And I'm like, just concentrate, play along, rhythm. Don't go too crazy.
I don't doubt you for a second.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just it's tough, man. It's tough to play along with, and it's a lot. And I know people are like, "Wait, you're no reply at all. It's tough. That's just a bass song. Well, play along to a drum machine. Let me know how you feel."
Trying, but we can't.
that's what's interesting is like, you know, these people, they think that these songs, just because they're shorter, that they're necessarily simpler, and that's not. They're still creative and unique in their own way.
Exactly.
Even though they did make a conscious decision to shorten the songs.
Yeah.
I always have this, like, I know it didn't happen this way, but I just have this like comical Hitler-esque view of Phil. I think they were recording in a barn at that time because the studio was still being built, the actual farm. And that's cool too, is that they were recording it in a barn. But I just have this vision of him being like, listen, you motherfuckers, like, if we want to stay in the game, the times are changing. They want short. I have the best-selling #1 solo motherfucking album. We're shorting your motherfucking solos, Tony.
Have you heard of In the Air Tonight? The one that you assholes rejected?
Yeah,
that's #1, motherfuckers.
And that's the other, like, that's the big debate, right? Is Tony says that Phil never played it, that if he played it, we would have done it. Yeah.
Bullshit, because Rutherford said he came in with Misunderstanding and In the Air Tonight, and they said Misunderstanding.
Oh, Christ. See?
Look at what you guys did.
Yeah.
But hey, Misunderstanding was a top 10 hit still.
Yeah, and then they try. It almost feels like Mama, you know, on the next album, was an attempt to reproduce the atmosphere of In the Air Tonight.
Yeah.
Almost.
I think so. Yeah, because they figured, well, he's got a hit with the drum machine. We can have a hit with the drum machine.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because the Mama drum pattern was actually Mike's. That was a Lynn drum.
Really?
Lynn drum machine. Phil said that the drum pattern was Mike's.
I didn't know that.
And he said it was typical Rutherford because the beat was on the wrong part of the bar. And because when you hear it, because it's like, God, do, and it's like, what's this upbeat that came out of nowhere? And he was just like, well, that's Mike, you know. Well, you got to remember, Mike, you know, Mike thought Turn It On Again was in 4.
Oh, right.
When it was in 13.
Yeah.
Well, because if you think about it, like when you're playing along to it, it is kind of like a straightforward timing, but the riff ends at a very weird time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And you're like, where did this just come from? But that's why he was like, well, it's typical Rutherford because the beat's on the wrong part of the bar, and it's like, where is this coming from? Amazing as you fucking do, because you're absolutely the greatest underrated bass player in the history of rock.
Oh my God, that's certainly true.
Yeah,
I love seeing like covers online where they'll just do like a bass cover.
Right.
You know, and you really get to hear the brilliance of that particular artist.
Oh yeah. And you're just like,
yeah,
blown away by Rutherford's playing. I mean, he's just a beast.
This is what I love about a topic like this, is my mind goes in a million. There's like so many different things to say about.
Mm-hmm.
So, Abacab. which I know you know was named after the lyric structure of the song, but it's not the original lyrics. They just changed the letters around of the actual lyric structure.
Yeah, because it's actually Abacab if you think about it.
Yeah,
it's actually Abacab.
Yeah. Now, because I also know you know all the different versions. My favorite version of Abacab is actually the '86 Wembley one.
Oh yeah.
Because it's the only one, and maybe you know more about this than I do, but it seems to be played at a faster tempo than all
much
the
faster.
other, right? And it
faster.
kicks so much more ass that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, all right.
And we're kind of doing the Abacab, like the normal tempo Abacab / Mama Tour version of Abacab. And it's and I have to be careful too, because you know we got the bass pedals doing the boom 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 boom, and I got to make sure I'm on tap with that.
Yeah, that's really tough as well.
And it's a tough thing to do for me as well, because I'm counting the song off, and if I count it off faster than the bass pedals, it's like, you know, oh great, there goes the drummer rushing everything again.
Right.
But when you listen to it, when you eat shit and breathe Genesis as much as I do, you kind of know the tempos off the top of your head.
Do you? I mean, are you listening to Genesis besides playing it, obviously? But are you listening to it on your own, on a regular basis, or do you go through phases?
I go through phases.
Yeah, me too.
I go through phases because, I mean, as a musician, I listen to so much music, and I listen to, you know, all kinds of different bands and different kinds of music.
You're also in another band, aren't you?
Yes, I am in an original metal band, like I said, Villains of Nowhere.
Right.
We're still playing. We're still we're still practicing playing gigs, writing new music. You know, trying to get them a little bit more progressive. You know.
Yeah, sure. Now you for the Genesis show. I mean, you guys you're just playing it by ear. You're gonna go as long as it feels right. Like there's no end in sight.
I really don't see no signs of stopping.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, my aspirations, and I'm not sure what the other guys' aspirations is. I mean, obviously we want to play more gigs, but I would love to take us internationally, because I really think, and I believe I've said this before, I think we would go over amazing.
I know you would, because one thing I know is Genesis cover bands. Like, I've done enough studying, and I've seen so many that you guys are within the top 3 to 5.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I mean that. Just vocals alone. I mean, the music is spot on, but it's hard to nail vocals.
Right.
It really, oh, by the way, that's what I want to ask. What else, because I don't remember exactly, what else are you and Jeff playing on together? Like the way Phil and Chester would be drumming together. On the tour, like when is Jeff up at the drums as well?
Mostly, on this particular 81
tour?
tour?
On the 81, yeah.
Well, he's back there on Abacab. He's back there on obviously Afterglow.
Okay.
Drum duet that we're doing. That comes right after. That immediately follows Dance on a Volcano.
All right. Drum duet, not the early version. I mean, by then it's pretty well developed.
Right, but when we do the 80 tour, Encore tour, we're gonna try and do the Mama tour drum duet.
Okay, nice.
I think we're gonna do the first part of it, and then we're gonna go into the 81. We're gonna do a kind of hybrid, because he wants to do the that one from my mom. You know, we kind of want to add that into when we do 82, because they kind of did that on the 81-82 tour. They kind of, it was almost like they were fooling around with ideas, and then when Mama came, they were like, okay, now this is what we're going to do.
Yes. It's
it
so
all
cool
came together.
To hear the evolution of that drum duet.
Exactly.
Over so many years.
And we're going to kind of hybrid it just to give everyone a little like, oh, you like this part? Well, we're going to do this part. We're going to do this part.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Now here's a song. I assume you're not playing because I think it was played live. It's one or the other, but it's the B-side. You might recall. Is that 80 or 81? Is that an Abacab B-side or
That is
Duke?
Abacab.
It is
B-side,
Abacab,
if
right?
I'm not mistaken.
And
I
it's
believe.
it's a good song. And yeah, so you're not going to do that one obviously, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, we were toying with the idea of possibly doing Paper Late, but we were like,
Ah, come on.
well, now it's not because we don't want to do it. It's because we'd have to get the horns in and everything.
Yeah.
But we have rehearsed Keep It Dark.
Oh god. Now see, that was when I was a kid. That was one of my favorites, obviously, because it's just. I mean, even the message of it with the aliens and there's a world of peace. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah, a very political kind of song too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to think about, but everyone's telling them that, shh, don't talk about that, You're not supposed to talk. It's a very taboo subject,
Right. And that's the way it is.
And that's still the way it is. And we figured just to maybe give everybody a little tease with Keep It Dark when we do the 82. So, and we've rehearsed it. It sounds great.
So, what do you think? I mean, we've talked about this. The state of Genesis now. There's all these cover bands, and you guys are keeping that music alive. Hackett is still doing his tours.
Yep.
Phil is out there. He just fell recently.
Yeah, he fell in North Carolina. That's a sin.
Yeah.
That's a sin.
Gabriel.
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't either.
Not a clue.
I mean, he released a bunch of stuff that I spent years collecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
B-sides
Flotsam and Jetsam.
Flotsam and Jetsam. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, right? Like for the band Genesis, like I can't see anything else happening at this point.
Yeah, I really like I said in the other podcast, I think it's pretty much over. It's pretty much over. I really don't see anything happening, and I know Rutherford and Banks are always like, "Hey, we're here, we're ready to go," but Phil is just in absolute terrible shape right now.
Yeah.
He's getting wheeled around in a wheelchair, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I mean, it's just
exactly.
It's really tough, and there's people saying, "Oh, his show is so incredible. His show is so great." And I've watched stuff on YouTube, and I'm like, "This is awful."
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say awful, but yeah, it wasn't.
I'm sorry. It's just his voice is just dying, man. It's just so bad right now. And like I said, with the shape that he's in such bad shape, and I'm like, it's hard to watch. It really is.
I mean, I give him credit for coming out there one last time. I kind of wish I had seen it just to say I did, but yeah, I don't think at this point. But he is coming back to America, right?
I believe he's touring America right now.
Right now? Oh my God.
Yeah, he was just, that fall was like, I believe last week.
Yeah. I mean, really, my only hope is Gabriel. Like, I know he's got tons of material. I just wish he would just release stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he's cooking up something, but I don't know.
I know he is too.
I don't know exactly what he's doing.
I have a feeling 2020. I don't know why. Maybe because of the number of the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff's going on because of the number of the years 2020. It's a big momentous thing for humanity.
What I'm talking about.
speaking of keeping it dark, are you following like the Navy sightings of the UFOs that have been released?
Yes, and I don't know why it took them so freaking long, because they've been here for eons and eons and eons.
Exactly.
They have been reported in sacred texts. There's the Vermanas in India.
Yep.
There's the Egyptian gods. If you've read Chariots of the Gods by the great what's his name?
What's his
Eric von Daniken.
Yes, thank you.
Eric von Daniken, the great Eric von Daniken.
Right.
And how there's all these ancient ships and things that were described in the Bible, and all the reverse, just the reverse engineering and all that kind of stuff.
Which is still happening.
Which is still happening. Oh, absolutely. You kidding me, man?
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually seen a UFO.
Have you?
I'll try not to track too far off, but
That's okay.
When me and Kim were when we first started dating, every summer her mother would get a beach house. We'd get Ocean City, Wildwood, everywhere. There was one particular night in Wildwood. She got this place, I believe it was like maybe a block, or what was it on the beach? Like I said, I think it was like a block off the beach, and I remember I was out on the patio.
Okay.
And I'm overlooking the ocean, the moon was out, it was it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing these red lights, and it appeared on the side, like right off in the distance, right at the at the ocean cutoff line.
Okay.
Because the world's flat. But anyway.
It was right behind the ice wall.
Right. But I digress.
Right.
The world is obviously not flat. But anyway, so I saw this red light go up, and I'm thinking, it's nothing, it's a red light. And then about a few feet away from it, another red light appeared.
Okay.
And then another one appeared. And it was like it was almost like the Phoenix Lights in '96.
What's the Phoenix Lights in '96?
The Phoenix Lights, the infamous, the biggest UFO sighting in human history.
Sorry.
In 1996.
refresh my memory.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
And the interview.
1996.
No.
What was I doing in '96?
But yeah, the big sighting in '96 where hundreds of thousands of people saw these lights over Phoenix all just appeared.
I do remember this.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's kind of what it was. It was a red light, and then another red light appeared, and then another red light appeared, and I'm going, I just gasped. I remember I was like, Kim, you got to see this, and I don't think she was there at the time, and I remember my niece Brianna was there. And she said, what are you looking at? And I'm like, well, this is before she was officially my niece, before we got married. But I'm like, Bri, and Bri was like, oh my God, what is that? And she was like, oh my God, that's too freaky. I can't look at that.
Okay, so you have somebody else that also saw it.
And they were there, and they weren't really pulsating, but I could tell they were kind of vibrating. And then all of a sudden, they just kind of dimmed. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, what was that? And then all of a sudden, they reappeared again.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, oh, yes. And I remember having this overcoming fear of just happiness and fear.
And fear, just like fear of the unknown.
Just the fear of the unknown.
The general fear.
And I remember there was there were two instances I saw. Because the second incident was also while I was walking on the beach, and I was under the influence of marijuana at the time because I took a joint with me. But I saw this thing hovering above me.
Okay.
That was just
a drone. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
No. This was about 2005, 6 maybe.
You're right. You're not gonna see it. Yeah.
And I remember it just floating above me, this thing, and it didn't make a sound. And it clicked in my head that anti-gravity does not make a sound.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what is this thing? And it's kind of looked like something was attached to it. It was very strange. I never saw anything like that. And it paralyzed me.
Really?
Because I'm like, this is not a plane.
Like, not paralyze you as in, like, you physically couldn't move.
Well, no, I just
the sheer...
was like, what the hell is this thing?
Right.
Because it almost reminded me of a stingray, because it was like there was something sort of like, like a string attached to it. And I'm like, that is not a craft that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not making a sound.
So based on what you've... I mean, I know we're going off track, but that's fine.
That's
because
fine.
This is enjoyable.
Right.
Like, what... If you had to put it in some kind of context based on all the shit we've heard, like what do you have in your mind as what's going on? Is it extraterrestrial visitors? Is it just advanced technology that we don't know about? A little bit of both? What do you think?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I really do think that it could be. I think it could be creatures that are on this planet in a different time zone. Well, like a time frame, like the future.
Yes. Okay.
Because, there was a video circulating that is obviously completely and utterly fake.
All right.
Where there is a man interviewing an alien from Area 51. But it's obviously completely
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah,
fake.
I saw that. That was
But
good,
what
though.
the alien said kind of struck me, because, like I said, the aliens speak in English, and that's what completely threw it. It's like, okay, stop right there. That is completely idiotic.
Well, it's conceivable, but
It's
still.
conceivable, yes. But the thing is I've read, there's a man named Stan Romanek who chronicled his, he was being visited and followed by UFOs, and there's footage of aliens like peeking in his window.
Oh, crazy.
And it's friggin' freaky. Now, I'm like, either this guy is the greatest puppeteer in the world, or he's but I found out this guy is a complete, a normal person.
He's legit, yeah.
But here's the one thing that scared me about it, is the fact that, like, he was put under hypnosis, and he was writing equations that are far beyond anything we have ever deciphered.
Right.
And I was like, wait a second, what? But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, this alien said that he was actually from Earth, but he wasn't from the Earth he's from Earth from millions of years in the future.
And I definitely believe in that as a possibility.
That
for
I
many
think
different
that
reasons.
is definitely a possibility.
Have you ever heard of an author named Daniel Pinkwater?
No.
So he writes children's stories, but more like young adult,
Okay.
science fiction-y, really cool type stuff. There's one called Alan Mendelsohn and the Boy from Mars.
Okay.
But to make a long story short, there's a device that it's sort of like a radio tuner, right? But you tune different dimensional frequencies.
Okay.
So that, I mean, you can travel through space, but the idea is that all the dimensions exist simultaneously, superimposed over each other, right?
Okay.
So just simply by tuning, if you're on Earth, you're on a different, like Lemuria, or one of the lost civilizations, I think in the book.
Yes.
But there's also other civilizations on other dimensions on the planets in the solar system. So like on our dimension, the planets look barren and lifeless or whatever. But if you
Right.
just tune, there's a whole other race of beings.
Yeah.
And so I know that like you understand that, and there's a lot of people out there that understand that, but I'm not sure that everybody fully understands the possibilities of alien civilizations. Like in sci-fi shows, they're always humanoid.
Right.
For the most part,
For the
right?
most
For the
part.
most part, they're humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's no limit to what it could be.
I mean, the Stan Romanek story, which you can get on YouTube. It was on Netflix. It was taken down.
Really?
Yeah. Not taken. I don't know if it was taken down for other things, but this story scared. Not only that, but this guy was getting phone calls from robots, and they were calling him Starseed.
Oh Jesus! Oh, jeez.
So, and not only that, but he would have these people come to his house that he had no idea who they were, like painting his house and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. And like he had cameras all over his house. There were these light streams beaming by his house, and it was just the scariest friggin' thing. And not only that, but he took pictures out in his field, and there were all these, grays, these small grays, which people have said that they are actually computers. They're actually robots.
The Greys, really?
The
See,
Greys.
I've heard that the Greys are they were Martians. essentially, and that they had sort of infiltrated our government, and that we did eventually defeat them in the 90s, but...
I heard about that too, and I fully believe that.
Me too.
I fully believe
Daddy
that.
Long Legs.
Yeah, you got a little spider there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, you keep it dark, right? Exactly.
Yeah, let's
You know
bring
what I'm
bring it back.
Keep
Yeah,
it dark,
keep
right?
it dark. Well, that's what's happening. I mean, are we ever going to get a full reveal?
I think we definitely should, because the evidence is there.
Yeah.
It's all around us, and I know they're in the government. I know that's what they're doing. They're reptilian, and I know people say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," and it's just like, well, religion is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep
You know what
any
I mean?
possibility open at this point. Right?
Exactly.
Things are so crazy.
Exactly. You know, everyone's, you know, your God's not real, but mine is. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm not disrespecting anybody who is into that stuff. If it helps you, that's fantastic. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
It's just not for me, man. I can't.
Well, spirituality is fantastic, but
Spirituality.
religion is...
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I was talking about this on my last podcast, of the difference between somebody who is authentically living whatever it is they spiritually believe versus somebody who's going through the motions because they feel that that's what they have to do in order to be spiritual.
Wow.
Right?
You just blew my Bible that one. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. I mean, because if you think about it, like, you know, I'm fine that, like I said, if people want to believe that stuff, and if it helps them, absolutely. But, you know, I just think that when you start using it as a tool of fear, then you're not using it properly.
Using what as a tool of fear?
You're using religion
Oh, yeah.
as your tool of fear, as, you know, saying that homosexuality is a sin, and, you know, you're doing this is a sin, you know what I mean? And you're, you know, so you start judging people. And if you start judging people, you're kind of going against the basic principles of what it's supposed to be, because all those guys, these Allahs and these Muhammads and these Jesus and they all were about love.
Yeah, like, why is that the simple message that seems to get lost through the filter here?
Exactly.
I mean, Jesus, you know?
I know. I don't understand it, and I don't understand why people have to hide behind the crucifix.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's confusing the symbol for what's behind it. You know, it's confusing
Thank you.
from the true message.
Exactly.
Now as the river dissolves in the sea, solitude has claimed another soul. So we've got to know sheep remain beside their pen until the shepherd leads his flock away. The sands of time were eroded by the constant change.
I mean, you know, I'm a little torn because, like Bill Hicks says, it's time to create a new philosophy and perhaps even a new religion, right?
Love Bill Hicks.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I learned so much from Bill.
It's just a ride.
It is just a ride.
The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door. Buy bigger guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one.
I love how you word for word.
My favorite part is where he's like, here's what we could do to change the world right now into a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which would 1,000,000 times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer.
It pretty much sums it up, right?
That's pretty much wraps it up in a nice big bow, and there you go. Because it's what it's supposed to be, man. I don't understand why everybody's got to, you know.
I don't know, but it's weird having lived through a time when he was radical and forward thinking, and now his thinking is common knowledge among the youth, right? Like they already get this shit.
The youth is starting to change.
Yeah.
And it needs to change for the better, because, I mean, right now, things aren't really looking too good.
Well, I'm trying to change it for the better in the classroom by introducing them to Genesis and Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel. Like, I want them to understand that your mind can go on an actual journey.
Yes.
You know?
This band will take you to places, especially in a darkened room.
Yeah,
and if the lamb is playing. If the lamb is playing. It's like people say, if you light a candle and play Tommy, you're going to see your whole life. Well, if you put on the lamb and you're going to go through space. You're going to go somewhere. You're like, where the hell are we? Now I'm in a cage.
My 9-year-old stepdaughter, I call her bonus daughter, because it's not legally stepdaughter yet,
Right.
but she has actually sat through all of the illustrated Lamb that guy Nathaniel has done, and he's all the way up to, I think he just did The Light Dies Down on Broadway.
He just did Riding the Scree.
He did Riding the Scree. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. So she's watched it all. She now knows like the whole story, and she has a visual to go along with it.
Yeah, this guy did a great job. He really put it in a good perspective. I like what he did. I was kind of confused with some of it, like the waiting room. I thought was very.
I knew you were gonna say that one.
Yeah, the waiting room was, I thought, a little. That's not what happens in the book.
Yeah.
The story. I mean, I'm sorry. The story. In the story, he's in a dark cave and he can't see a fucking thing.
Right. He did take a lot of license there.
Yeah. So and he's you see him kind of sitting there getting antsy and stuff, and they don't show the bottle being thrown and the cave come. Instead, like the wall kind of breaks, and I'm like, that's not what is happening
yeah,
right
it's like you were so faithful like up until this point. So what
yeah,
happens,
exactly.
right?
That's the point that kind of did it for me, because I was kind of like, oh, dude, he's running and he trips and falls, and I'm like, he's actually crushed under a bunch of rocks right now,
Right.
and thinks he's dead, but he's not.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, okay, dude, all right.
Like you said it last time in the last podcast. That's as close as we're gonna get.
We're talking about winds blow on the land. Movie palaces now
don't know if they're going to record the whole show. We have whole shows on YouTube.
Yes, I know.
Oh, okay.
I know. I'm sure all of them are in one of my playlists.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I know someone's going to record tomorrow night. I don't know if I think we have a young kid named Tyler Steinbron.
Okay.
He helps us. We have another Dylan. We have these two. Matt, our keyboard player, he has. They're two of his former students. And Tyler usually takes the videos.
Okay.
And he's been using them for promo vids and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if something happens, like I'm gonna record, but if for some reason it doesn't come out, and you have whatever you can get that I could use as
you could use
clips.
the audio from YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could send you. Yeah, if we have anything. Yeah.
I mean, you already have some stuff up from that tour, right? I think I've purposely not watched it.
Yeah, we had one from the Scottish Rite, I believe.
Yes, but I think I've purposely not watched it because I just want to, I want to go in virgin on this one.
Yeah.
My Endos Theater, I think I'm very close, like I was last time.
Nice.
All right. I wish I could bring my partner Nikki, but we have a little one.
Yeah,
cooking
congratulations.
in there. Thank you. And
How far along?
She'll be 20 weeks on Monday.
Oh man.
Yeah, Monday we go for the ultrasound to take a look at. And they said it's probably a boy.
Okay.
Right. So we'll find out for sure on Monday. And I want him to start hearing Genesis as early as possible, but that's still too loud, right? It's too loud for a developing fetus.
No,
Yeah.
Right. He's gonna come out with like a Lamb T-shirt on.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, like, because with the girl Devin, she's over it now. She's like, okay, I get Genesis, I appreciate Genesis, but it's not her thing, right? She's 9 years old. Like she likes it, but I'm wondering if he'll be the same way. Like, will I just oversaturate him? Time will tell.
Yeah, I've tried not to oversaturate, or I've tried not to torture them too much.
But you're also educating them with all different music, I assume, right?
Trying. Yeah.
But they go their own way, right? They have
Well,
their
yeah.
own-
Well, my daughter, I think. Well, my son is listening to some these hip hop songs out now. I mean, they're not with bad words or anything. He actually hears one that's like a motivational one. But he likes this one that's all kind of sappy and emo, like auto-tune guy complaining about losing his girlfriend. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Totally. Yep.
And my daughter's the one that's got the good ear. She's listening to Bjork.
Nice. Okay.
She actually went to go see Bjork. She was playing this place called the Attic in New York City.
Really?
Or something like that, or the Garage or something. She was doing a residency of shows there.
Huh.
And she was using all kinds of crazy, like there was a guy playing water as an instrument.
That's so
I'm
cool.
serious. Like
That
my
is
wife
so
said,
cool.
it was cool, and she showed me pictures because they had photos being taken. And this one guy had this harp that was like powered by electromagnetic fields and produced their own melodies.
See, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
You know what
That's
I mean,
some
man?
futuristic music shit.
Exactly, and that's exactly what she turned all her music into. And of course, she looked all freaky and had like this, she looked like an alien with the face makeup and her whole crazy stuff. But yeah, my daughter's listening to her, and
You know who's a band we were supposed to see? They canceled. Was Rusted Root.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen them before.
Yes, I saw them once before.
I saw them open up for Santana.
Did you really?
It was right before.
Oh yes, I saw that too.
It was at the East Center in Camden, and I remember it was right before. I think it was a year before he exploded with that fucking Rob Thomas song that I hope burns in hell.
Oh yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, that smooth. No, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Like, Carlos, what are you doing, man?
There's a song off of that album called "I Am Somebody" with Will.i.am. That's a really good song.
Okay.
Especially for kids. You know,
Okay, well, yeah.
It's a good song, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but the overplayed saturation of that song is just horrible. Because I don't like Rob Thomas's voice, and I'm not a big fan of that whole. I mean, I love Pearl Jam, but Eddie Vedder I can tolerate. His comes from the heart.
Yeah.
It just seems like with him, he's just trying to be like, hey, I'm fuck up, dude. Come on. Like, you could tell the artists who are sincere and the ones who are just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm a good singer, all right, just being like this.
Oh, you can
I can't blame
definitely
Rob
tell.
Thomas. I'm sure he's a cool dude, and I'm sure I'd probably get along really good with him. I just don't like the way he sings.
Yeah.
That voice just doesn't appeal to me.
You can tell.
I like good guys like Captain Beefheart.
Right.
That are definitely from within something.
Well, there's this characteristic among guys like that. Like, they're all different, right? And it goes back to this Peter Gabriel line. I can't remember who the singer was, a female singer that called him up and said,
Kate Bush?
Maybe it was Kate Bush. Said, how do you do what you do on stage? And he said, take your idiosyncrasies and exaggerate them. I've never forgotten that line.
Take your idiosyncrasies and
exaggerate.
And what was it?
Exaggerate them.
And exaggerate them.
You know?
Fucking genius.
Yes,
What a
exactly.
fucking genius.
Right, and that's exactly what he does. Yeah.
Take your idiosyncrasies. Hold on, I gotta write that down as a motivational thing. I gotta write that down.
Go for it.
I gotta write that. That is incredible.
And that is an actual quote. Like, I remember reading that in the biography. And it makes perfect sense.
Pretty much. Isn't that real?
Yes, right. It's every character he's ever done.
Or you could say that was his Ziggy Stardust, I guess.
Yeah,
This Rail.
right, yes,
That was
totally.
Gabriel had Bowie had Ziggy Stardust and Peter Gabriel had Rail.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I feel like I have this close connection with performing because I'm a teacher, and I realize, especially now because I've made the closet into my little office.
Yeah.
So in between when the kids are switching, I go back in there like it's some sort of green room, right?
Right.
And then I come out, and it really feels like, oh yeah, that's right, you're performing. Like,
Right.
You're trying to keep the attention and interest of the entire audience.
Right.
And have them entertained and come away like feeling like, oh, I took something out of that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of similarities,
Definitely.
but it must be more fun to play.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you look at what Peter Gabriel's done throughout his career. I mean, all his on-stage antics were revolutionary. There's just no question. I'll argue to the death about that.
Oh, I completely agree. Would you venture into that territory? Would you guys ever consider that, like, solo
don't
territory?
think so.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
I agree.
We're just going to stick to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, what the future holds, I'm not sure of right now. I mean, we definitely want to touch upon, I mean, like I said before, we did the poll with Trick of the Tail and Duke Tour, and I think it would probably be fitting. I mean, I just think it's going to be a double-edged sword, because we're going to say, well, the obvious choice is Duke, and the people online are going to go, well, 51% said Trick of the Tail, motherfuckers. That's
right.
a 2% margin.
Yeah.
Like, that's how close it is.
And you don't want to do musical box where you're not a medley type thing, but where you're mixing song, just playing a set list of your own.
Exactly.
You don't want to do that. You want to do a tour.
Right.
And I feel you on that. Like, there's definitely, and there's still a lot of leeway there. You can go back. Has there been any talk of going back before 76? No.
I don't think so.
No. Why? Right? Because that ground's been covered.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. Like I said, to go backwards and do the Gabriel shit would really be like just kind of, all right. I don't think that would work out, because, like I said, that's what like I've said, that's what all the cover bands are doing. Everybody's doing the Gabriel, which, like I said, is my favorite era. Yes, but I love the Phil Collins era too.
Sure. Right. Who doesn't?
Like I said, but my whole thing is that, like, like I said, like, we just want to continue doing the Collins era stuff, because that's what, Phil still carried the torch, and there's still people who like that stuff.
Yeah, and again, there's so many cover bands that are not playing that stuff.
I mean, we're also doing the Gabriel stuff. It's not.
Sure you are.
We're not
right,
just
absolutely.
doing the Phil Collins stuff.
Yeah.
Because when Phil Collins sang the Gabriel era stuff, it was fucking great.
Yeah, no doubt.
But like I said, but just the way Jeff's doing it, man, it's just. It's like his voice is perfect for it, and I like I said, that was the big thing, and I was like, this guy better sing if we're gonna do this stuff, and he can fucking sing, and he can prove it. I had a friend of mine. Here's a funny story. I'll tell this funny story. This is a good one.
Go for it.
We were doing the Scottish Rite last year, and my coworker came with me, and he's this big black guy named Salim.
Okay.
He's my boy. He liked that kind of music, and he liked Phil Collins, but he wasn't like, he didn't really know some of the stuff.
Sure.
And it was funny, when he came to go see us at the Scottish Rite, he told me this afterwards. People thought he was a scalper.
Oh my God.
Because they were, they're big black guy there. I'm selling tickets,
Yeah,
It was a very,
yeah.
like, Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of moment,
Right, yeah, it makes sense.
And he was just kind of like, and I remember when I came to work, because I saw him all the way up at the top of the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to see him afterwards, though, because he left. He said he had to leave. When I saw him at work on the Monday, I remember he was like, yo, man, what was that one... I remember him saying, what was that one song you did with the drum machine at the beginning? And he was like, it was that... And he took a video of it, and he's like, it was this. I'm like, oh, Duchess. He's like, I've never heard... And he was like, I never heard that song. He's like, dude, that is a great song.
Isn't it?
That is such a great song, man. I was like... He's like, I'm sitting there going, wow, this is such a great song. I never heard this song before.
People need to know about Duchess.
What I'm talking about.
Well, Duchess, let me go back to that for a second.
Oh, okay.
Because I just want to get this out there. Maybe just by if I say it enough times, it'll happen.
Yeah.
I created a playlist on YouTube. It's called The Ladies Lie Down,
Okay.
and it's all. We're talking over 100 at this point. Female covers of Genesis songs, like every one I
Really?
could find, like just from the girl strumming her guitar, singing "Please Don't Ask," to full
wow.
high school marching, like hardcore, like a girl doing "In the Cage," right, singing "In the Cage."
Wow.
Crazy shit I found.
Wow,
But
I
to
gotta check
this
that out.
day, not one female cover of Duchess. And I swear that if one of these hot young female stars would cover that song and the meaning of it, right? Because you know what it's about, that female rock star and how it is perfect. It would be a perfect cover.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
I think
just
Billie Eilish should
surprised
do it.
that-
I love her.
Yeah, well, that's who comes to mind. Can you
Yeah.
imagine her doing Duchess? Oh my
My daughter
God.
loves her.
I tried to get tickets for Devin, but
Yeah.
by the time it was the end of the day.
Yeah, dude, she destroyed me. And you know what? There's not a lot of artists right now who are doing anything but her.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
has taken
Right.
the art to the place it should be. disturbing and dark, just like Bowie and Gabriel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a friend of mine posted one of her songs, and and my friend's like, dude, you've never heard of her? And he's one of my Chris McLaughlin, he's one of my musician buddies from way back in the day, drummer in the marching band. We've been to college together, and he posted the song "When the Party's Over."
Yeah.
With the video.
Oh, jeez.
And he was like, he wrote "So Beautiful It Hurts," and I'm like, okay, let me check this out. I was in tears at the end of the song.
Is that
and
the
I
one
was
where
like,
the tears are coming out of her eyes?
Yeah, and I was just like, her voice
Mm-hmm.
and what she's singing about. And I'm like, oh my God, it hit me. And my daughter's like, Dad, are you going? I'm like, yo, you gotta give me a minute. Whoa, I was not expecting that.
No, not from like a pop.
I mean, Bad Guy is I can do without that song.
Hey,
to
it's
be honest.
catchy.
It's
Don't
catchy
get
as
me
shit,
wrong.
and
It's a
kind
good
of
debut.
Yeah, it's a good debut, but I mean, she's definitely proven that she is not your and we need more like her, because I feel she embodies the Kate Bush and kind of like a little bit
I
Lady
was
Gaga.
thinking Lady Gaga. Yeah, I mean, I have an appreciation for her,
But it's like what she's doing is completely what Bowie's always said. You got to go further in your depth than you used to, and when you feel like you haven't touched the bottom, then you're doing something wonderful.
There
and
you
she's
go.
definitely not touching the bottom.
No, right.
She has an amazing voice, and she can actually writes her own music.
Isn't that so
Her
refreshing?
and her brother write all the music.
Oh, I didn't know that. She writes with her
Yeah,
brother?
she writes with her brother. Her brother's name is
That's really
Phineas.
cool. Huh.
They're from
Phineas.
LA, but her brother he's a songwriter producer, and he wrote "When the Party's Over."
Okay.
He actually wrote that.
All right.
He wrote that whole song. That's him. But a lot of them is her writing the songs and lyrics, or both of them together. You know.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I've noticed with our fans is a lot of the, and I've, like I said, my other friend Russ and other people have come out. It was like, yeah, I never really paid attention to the early Collins stuff, but that's some pretty good music.
Well, Duke is one of those underrated albums, right?
You
Even
know?
people that know 80s Genesis, they know Abacab, Mama album, and on.
Oh, and
right?
here's a funny thing. Oh, you're going to love this too. You're going to love this. So we play Abacab, and he's like, I know this song. I didn't know this was Genesis.
Oh my God.
He's like, I didn't know. I thought this was a Phil Collins song.
See?
I didn't know this was Genesis.
Yes, right, that Blur.
And he was like, I like that song. That's a great song. He's like, I heard that song before. And I was like, oh, I really dig that shit, man. I really like it.
Right.
And he was like, oh, man, this is great. And then he proceeds to tell me, this guy's never heard Firth of Fifth in his life.
Oh,
okay?
shit. Oh,
This
shit.
guy's never heard Firth of Fifth in his life.
See, that to me is
He
the
proceeds-
quintessential Genesis song.
Well, here's the thing. His mind got blown because the part where it fades and it's just the RMI in the seconds out playing the flute part, the dun 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 dun.
Beautiful.
Dun dun dun. That is sampled in a hip hop song.
Oh, he knew it from the sample?
He knew it from the sample.
I
There
know
was a
I know the
by-
song, yeah.
It was a rapper named Prodigy. And
right.
the song was called Genesis.
Yes, exactly.
And he sat there and he said his jaw hit the floor. He went,
what? Yeah.
this is Genesis.
It's so weird
That's
to come
the
at it from
song."
that angle. Like, who comes at it from that
And
angle? Here's the sample first.
Exactly.
Oh,
he was like, yo, that
shit.
blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
black guy, my black buddy Salim, I love him to death. He was like, yeah, I can't believe that was Genesis. Oh my God. And I was like, see, man?
Have you ever gone on to whosampled.com and typed in Genesis? Like, there's like
Oh, I've heard,
there's
yeah.
so many different samples from the old stuff that I never realized were used.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Old Dirty did a kick-ass version of Susudio.
Oh, yeah.
His version of Susudio is way
Well,
better
he was
than
a huge.
Phil's.
Well, it's so funny, and Phil has said this before about how he's so surprised how most of his fans are the hip hop guys.
Yeah.
They all love him.
Yeah.
Because he said the one thing that blew his mind, Phil, and this is straight from Phil. He said he was watching a. He said he happened to be watching a music show where Ice-T was being interviewed on like Nightline, because he watched those I guess he watched those shows, watching Nightline, and he said they were doing a thing about Ice-T, talking about the state of hip hop. And he
Right.
said the one thing that caught his attention was, they went to his house, interviewed him and talked to him, and they were looking at his house, and they said they were looking through his albums, and he had a bunch of Phil Collins stuff. And the interviewer's like, "Oh, what's all this stuff?" And he was like, and he said, "Yo, man, don't fuck with my Phil, man. That's my man right there.
That's the shit.
Phil's the shit." And because the interview, I kind of thought it was funny. Like the interviewer was like, "Oh, why are you listening to that for?" And he's like,
Right,
"Fuck
yeah,
you,
it's like,
dude.
you
That's
don't know
my
what
man.
you're
You don't know
talking
what you're
about.
missing, man.
You
You,
know
guys
the-
want to make fun of him, but listen to his shit, man."
You know the comedian Bill Burr?
Yes.
So he did a
Oh, he's a Phil Collins fan?
Yeah, well, my friend Doug was like, you got to listen to this one podcast, this Monday morning podcast, where he was taking questions, and somebody said something like, "Is Phil Collins a legitimate drummer?" And I listened to it, and he's like, "Yo, Phil Collins is a monster, okay? He's a monster. Like, don't hate on Phil Collins. He's a monster."
Yeah, Bill Burr's a drummer.
Yes,
He's actually,
right.
I remember
Yes.
him talking on a podcast, a friend of mine, him talked about how he was into Mush Sugar. And they're one of my favorite metal bands, because they're very, they're like, they're very prog metal, and they're great, and I
Okay.
love them. But it's like real kind of screamy,
Yeah,
kind of
it's
stuff.
hard for me to get into that stuff.
But the music is just unbelievable.
All right. Well, I mean, I hate trying to wrap up a podcast, but
That's okay.
I guess it's time that we do that.
Okay, man.
Enjoy the show tomorrow night.
We'll do.
Break a leg. I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for doing a podcast again, Vince. I mean,
Yes.
this is fantastic.
Absolutely, man.
80s Genesis.
Yep, here
I
we
can't-
go.
I can't wait. So let me know what's coming up next on the horizon. If you want to do another one, I'm always game.
All right, absolutely.
All right, brother. Thanks.
You're welcome.
One love.
Yep, one love.
And Nami Nanu. What the fuck does Nami Nanu mean anyway? Where does that come from?
I
Is that
have
just
no
like some
idea.
Phil thing?
Probably just
It's like Phil's version of Gabrielese.
Yeah, right.
What I'm talking about.
Somebody get me out of this cage. Oh, get me out of this cage. Oh, get me out of this cage.
positive family, the power of the prayer, and God, plus the positive atom. All those things mean so much to get you through life.
We covered all the important stuff.
That's right. So now let's cover the unimportant stuff.
It's a microcosm of all of the pain of the United States.
Ooh.
You see, getting his mood. We left off on a specific thought thread. You don't remember where we ended it, huh?
I'm not sure I remember what I did yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. When you're in the moment, there's only this moment.
I guess tune in next time when I have some interesting shit to talk about. Other than that, I love you. I love the world. Peace out.
Sir, I avoid responsibility. That way nobody feels compelled to put me in a position of power.
Be excited, because now it's here. Shiny gift of a lesson that you have in front of you. And now you have to work through it. You really have to, if you want to and you're tired of it, you have to work through it.
Why not? And give yourself, I would call it a dose of real reality. I mean, where nothing makes sense but everything works.
Let's be real. None of this is real.
I feel like I'm telling a story.
What's your advice for people in life?
My advice is to stay strong, be helpful, be smart, be brave, be powerful, be kind, and be loving to everyone, even your pets. Remember to live.
People are like, oh, wouldn't you get lonely when all your loved one dies? Like, no, you get new loved ones.
We really don't know what's in store for us. We really don't know.
Well, would you want to know?
Well, no.
Let's say something bad happened to you. Move on. It already happened. Just move on to the better things in life.
I'm this great bird of prey that's to be feared and awed at the same time. I don't know where the fuck I'm going.
I hope it's really not just us. Right. And everyone else is like, self-created eternal hell. No. Every waking moment is a joyous experience of growth and opportunity. I find myself totally spiritual centered and at peace with the balance between me and the rest of the universe.
We can't believe we're good at what we do, because if we believe that, then we'll stop doing it. And more than that, we'll stop growing.
What a heck of time!
Amen to that, my brother. Marcus, own the day, own your life.
It's such a game changer.
After all that, they won the game.
What I'm talking about.